Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to the Shed of Dread. And let's get into this now. You may have noticed that even though with this BBC presenter, who I think pretty much everybody now knows, but of course we can't actually name because of legal reasons. 20 years ago, I probably would have, but there's too much to sacrifice. There's too much at risk to actually name this person. But needless to say, it's the person I was told it was when this first broke. I'm not surprised, to be fair, but we can't say anything. And you know, there is reasons why we can't do that. But I've also been alluding to, and if you didn't know, obviously I've done quite a few videos. I've done a couple of videos with John the White. I've done 3, I think, when we've been discussing the situation that occurred to Noel Clarke. And I've alluded to and mentioned a few things in the interviews because the way the BBC and everybody else is going on about this, it mainly means that what was done to Noel Clarke was outrageous, disgusting, and hypocritical. And if you start to look at it in that respect, you can also see that there is possibly another reason, which I'll cover in a moment. Now, as I said, there's no reason why the BBC shouldn't have named this person. They've claimed privacy rules, which were not afforded to Noel Clarke, and they weren't afforded to Dave Lee Travis, or they weren't afforded to Cliff Richard, because the BBC is very good at deciding who is worthy of protecting and who isn't. So, any case, so obviously, as you're fully aware, with the situation with the BBC presenter, there is a lot of talk. Now, I'm going to play a bit off GB News. Now, I know it's GB News, it's copyright, and everything belongs to them. And I'm going to try and use bits of this because when you listen to what these, people are saying, surely when you've listened to it and what I have to say, you really have to question how and why Noel Clarke was treated the way he was. So, any case, let's bring it up. Right then. This is Professor Jonathan Schultz, OBE, and he's one of the biggest, the word I'm looking for, agents around. So he's been brought on by GB News to discuss this. Now, obviously, as it says here, they're not going to mention the name. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play this and stop it every now and again, for fair use, because I need it to make a point. So, in any case, we've just started, as you can see, we've just started the interview. We're 57 seconds in, and they're just talking about when will he be named, etc. There's no need to cover that. So, in any case, let's hear what they have to say.
Correct. Indeed so. We must be judicious. We also have to remember that these are allegations, aren't they? You can't have trial by public opinion, trial by media. The person...
Yes, you can. That's exactly what happened to Noel Clarke. So, GB News, can I ask the question? And ask all media. You can't have trial by public opinion and by media, but that's exactly what happened to Noel Clarke. It was purely on social media and purely done by the media, in specific terms by the Guardian newspaper, who apparently can make these allegations and they stick. But shall we just... so we've got old Mark here saying, oh no, well, you can't have trial by public opinion and by media. Noel Clarke had his entire career removed, destroyed, based on a trial of public opinion and by the media. Let's carry on.
The person involved might well deny what's been said. Jonathan, what about the BBC itself? I mean, do you think that perhaps they should seize the initiative and actually name this person? We know they've reluctantly suspended the individual.
Yes, after 7 weeks of knowing, after going out to a awards ceremony with the person, full knowing. In fact, let's be honest, if the mother hadn't gone to the son, this would have been buried. In any case, let's carry on.
At the moment, the likes of Jeremy Vine and Gary Lineker are being dragged into this. So should the Beeb name and shame?
I don't think it's as simple as should the Beeb name and shame. I think that same would apply to any employer. You can't just go and name and shame someone because an allegation's made, even if.
Well, you did. Everybody did with Noel Clarke. So you can't go and name and shame someone because an allegation's been made. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. You can kick him out of BAFTA. You can strip him of his BAFTA award. But apparently, you don't need to. You shouldn't be doing that. See, I'm struggling to understand what's being said here.
If you know it's true, you still got to go through due process to make sure it's true and all the facts are correct.
And they didn't with Noel Clarke. You see, I mean, you know, oh yeah, here he goes again. He's going on about Noel Clarke. No, but the thing is, they're saying everything that wasn't done for Noel. Not one little bit.
And I mean, clearly, most people assume this is true. However, the individual concerned may have a defence none of us know about yet. So I think the BBC are correct not to jump the gun and play to the.
So why did they name Noel Clarke? Why did they say we're never working with him again? Based on nothing but allegations, when these lot are actually saying, well, that shouldn't happen. They haven't jumped the gun. I wonder what could possibly cause the difference between this and what happened to Noel. In any case, let's crack on.
The gallery. It's also very easy for politicians to make big statements against the BBC, but from what I can see, Tim Davies acted very quickly.
No, he didn't. Now he's going to come up with this, and I'm going to get past this little bit, because we don't need to. Because due to this, he reckons, we're going to. It's what's been said. Oh, they acted quickly. They didn't. Oh, well, it's new allegations. They weren't. The only reason that this has happened, we have to keep remembering, is because they went to the Sun. Any case, let's carry on.
Received an allegation that wasn't substantiated some weeks ago. I'm not sure they could have done anything, because you also have to remember what the individual is accused of is doing it in their own time at home away from work. So absolutely, if you do something in the office on office property.
Well, that's a load of rubbish. You can't say that. But let's just go back a bit.
People will be in disbelief that this person has behaved this way because no one would have expected it. So when the BBC received an allegation that wasn't substantiated some weeks ago, I'm not sure they could have done anything, because you also.
Now, all the stuff that Noel Clarke was accused of was completely unsubstantiated. Now I know, they accuse this. I mean, let's people get it wrong in any case, because he was accused of sexual assault. He wasn't. 99% of it was being shouted. He shouted at us and bullied us, and all evidence was provided. Now, due to this guy, that shouldn't happen. You shouldn't jump the gun. You shouldn't jump the gun at all. And also saying what a person does at home is irrelevant. Well, the child in question was 17, and therefore he was breaking the law. Be it at home or be it at work, that's a piss poor defence. Yeah, you can do what you want outside work hours. No, you can't do stuff outside work hours. And if you work for a company and you're a household name, any case, let's carry on.
At home with their private friends and their private life, they do at work. But I'm not condoning it anywhere whatsoever, because clearly there's the whole possibility of criminal charges if the individual was indeed 17. Again, we don't know. This is all speculation.
Yeah.
But it's not speculation. The mother's gone with the evidence. PayPal accounts, etc., etc. But, any case, let's carry on.
Press story. So there are two issues now running. There's the inappropriateness of the behaviour, and there's the possible criminal action.
Indeed. You know as well as I do, Jonathan, that things are very different to how they were perhaps 20 years ago, when you can control a story like this. Now we've got the internet. What's the point in keeping stum on this person's identity if the whole of Twitter knows?
Good point.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, people who name people on social media make themselves vulnerable to actions, and they can be sued. I mean, there was an.
Yeah, which is why I put the video out, the short out, warning people to be careful, because people are going to get sued because you're actually barking up the wrong tree. And those of you who think it's Mr. Lineker and Mr. Vine, you really are barking up the wrong tree. But this is also, BBC has a duty of care to all of its other talents, as they call them. I I mean, we'll use the word talent very loosely, but this isn't right.
An example, I can't remember that lady's name. Everyone who's always out the front.
In any case, we'll just skip through this because we'll. All right, here we go. Let's go back. Let's just try this. So I'm trying
people in a way she shouldn't. But the point is, people on social media should not be naming people, but they do. But if you like, in your face media like The Sun, The Times, The Telegraph, the BBC, ITV, GB News, can't go around naming people because everybody else knows.
Yeah, The Guardian did with Noel Clarke. In fact, The Guardian made sure that everybody knew. And so did some of those people who were involved in that article, sending emails and messages to BAFTA and the BBC. So, you see, this again, the hypocrisy. This just highlights how Noel was treated is just completely and utterly outrageous and a complete and utter disgrace.
Who it is. So that's just the way it is. But one can't blame the BBC for that. I mean, that's just, you just don't name people until it's substantiated and due process has been followed. In the same,
you do not name anyone until it's been substantiated and due process has been followed. Like you did, yeah? You threw Noel Clarke under the bus, did the BBC, based on unsubstantiated, no process was followed. So what the friggin' hell is going on here? If this is how it's supposed to be like, why wasn't Noel Clarke not treated with this due diligence?
way, if there was someone at GB News who had done something like this, GB News wouldn't name that person until they'd followed due process.
There you go. Again, he's just said it. Until you follow due process, you wouldn't name anyone. There was no due process. There was no investigation by anybody in BAFTA or BBC or Sky or anyone else that destroyed his career at all. No investigation whatsoever. So it wasn't substantiated. So he shouldn't have been named. I wonder why he was.
Now, Jonathan, you are one of the country's top talent managers. You're an entrepreneur as well. And you know about reputational damage and branding and all the rest of it. Can we safely assume that this presenter's career will be over when their identity is revealed if they're found to be guilty of this activity?
Well, yeah. But you see, the thing is, they're talking that if he's found guilty, you know, if it goes to police, if it goes to this, if it goes to that. That was never given to Noel Clarke. Absolutely no opportunity whatsoever. Just keep going back. Just keep going, see if I can remember any more.
People are saying he did at the moment, but again, we don't know.
Well, he did.
In the short run, certainly not. I think when people say it's a crisis at the BBC, it's not a crisis at the BBC. One individual has behaved probably wrongly, and that individual will lose their job. That's no suggestion the BBC have behaved inappropriately or the BBC are at fault.
Well, yeah, it is, because the BBC sat on it for 7 weeks. But in any case, let's carry on.
The BBC employ tens of thousands of people, and when you have that many employees, you're always going to have a few that aren't going to behave appropriately.
Oh, well, that's okay then, isn't it? Yeah. It's, you know, it's not the BBC's fault they're hiring groomers, paedophiles and sexual deviants. No, it's not. It's just one of those things. Just accept the fact that that's going to happen, even though it seems to be a prerequisite to be employed at these companies. And we're also, I mean, don't forget, ITV are the same. ITV are the same. They're all the same.
I've only got a couple of seconds left. On a scale of 1 to 10, how big is this story, just as a media bombshell?
Well, it's 10 today, but 2 weeks' time will be a 2.
Okay.
Well, it won't, will it? So there you go, you see. Now, this is what's causing me a problem. They're all going on about, oh, they shouldn't be named, due diligence. They shouldn't be, you know, nothing should be said, and, you know, with unsubstantiated claims. Yet Noel Clarke had his entire career destroyed based on unsubstantiated, uninvestigated, no due process, no company, ITV, Sky, BBC or whatever, shattered ties with him. None of them did an investigation whatsoever, nor did BAFTA. They didn't suspend him, they got rid of him. Now, this guy's been suspended. Now, what you have to think about is, what is the difference between Noel Clarke and, careful, the person who did this? Well, one, we have to look at, if it is the person, and I'm not going to say who it is, so before you do anything, all I will say is the person who did it has my skin colour, and we all know the skin colour of Noel Clarke. Now, some people go, well, you know, but the thing is, if a black guy gets his entire life destroyed by ignoring what they said should have happened, that there should have been an investigation, he should have been suspended while that investigation was going on, they should have seen if the claims were substantiated, and they should not have named him. Now, the other thing is, you can argue me with all you like is racist, oh, yeah, but the thing is, to me, it looks exceedingly racist. But then the other thing as well is it where this person comes from is, shall we say, class would, upper class or mid class. Of course, where Noel and many other people who've suffered these things are working class. Now, you can try and argue me on race, but you can't argue with me on class. Working class people always get treated different than those in the middle class, and especially those in the upper class. You can draw parallels with Madeleine McCann when she went missing. That had been Bill and Mary, whoever, from the council estate just down the road. They would have been thrown in prison for neglect of their child. But because they're rich, they get treated differently. That's class. Yeah? It's as simple as that. If this presenter had come from a working class family, they'd have named him, shamed him, and sacked him. If this then happened to be a black working class presenter, they'd be gone as well. Now, some people are going to say, how can you come to that conclusion? How can I not come to that conclusion? When you've just had two people sitting on there saying they should never name them until due process has been completed, until the accusations that have been thrown have been substantiated. Now, this guy is known to be white. So he's protected. His name's protected. This guy is definitely not working class. So his name's protected and he's only suspended. And remember, only suspended 7 weeks afterwards when the pressure got a little bit too hot because the mother, who was still struggling to understand why she didn't go to the police, but in any case, the mother went to the Sun. Yes, I know the Sun is all part of it. The mainstream media as a whole is riddled with liars, cheats, and by the looks of it, dirty little perverts. But if it hadn't have gone to the Sun, it wouldn't have gone on the front page. This would not be happening. We wouldn't be having this conversation. It would have been swept under the carpet because of a white, middle-class presenter. Now, I've treaded very carefully around the things that have been going on, with the TV presenter, even though I know who it is. I mean, somebody goes, you don't know shit. Well, I do know who it is. I was told. It's not uncommon knowledge, and shall we say the vast majority of people are right on Twitter now. But you look at him, and he's being protected by the BBC. In fact, if nothing had been said, probably would have got away with it. We're sitting drinking champagne at an awards ceremony with the same bosses who knew of what was going on. But if you're a black, hard-working, working-class actor / writer / director who works hard and has done a lot to promote equality in TV and film, if your face doesn't fit and you're starting to win BAFTAs and awards, it's perfectly okay for the Guardian newspaper to publish a load of allegations completely unsubstantiated. I know Noel's done some interviews and I said a couple of them, but they were people focused, 20 people have accused Noel Clarke, which actually went down to probably 7. Yeah, they kind of couldn't keep it up, but we'll say 20, of sexual impropriety. No, they didn't. You didn't even read the article. Most of it was for bullying because he shouted at me and told me off because He runs a business. It's TV, it's film, you know, time pressures, money pressures. And no offence, you can have seen Tom Cruise's rant during COVID when he really lost his rag because things weren't going his way. But of course, people read headlines. The headline was dubious. The headline was misleading because that's not what he was accused of. And those alleged sexual things, no one's bothered to investigate them. No one bothered to go to the police. No one did anything to investigate and substantiate these claims. So please tell me again how you can say how Noel Clarke was treated by the media, by social media, was right in any way, shape or form. And if you look at it rightly, you have to look at the fact that this white middle class TV presenter, almost said the, yeah, gets his name protected while the BBC do investigations to make sure that the claims are substantiated, where a working class black guy gets his name thrown out in the mud, no one investigates, and his entire livelihood is destroyed, removed, eliminated on a rumour, and now everybody's just walked away and presumed that's fine, and probably would have been left that fine when there's just a few voices like me who are saying, no, it's wrong, you've got this wrong, why aren't you doing anything about it? And now a white TV presenter comes out and is completely protected by the institutions. Oh, well, you can't sack him, you can't name him, you can't do this, you can't do that, maybe he didn't do it. Well, you know, it's just every now and again you get a bad egg, bollocks. Yeah? But Noel had his entire life ruined. That's simple. So if you've got a white middle class guy getting away with it, and he would have got away with it if he hadn't gone to the papers, and you get a black working class guy who doesn't get away with it, gets named, gets shamed, gets everything that he's worked so hard for removed from his life, you have to ask yourself the question. And if you don't want to ask yourself the question, just use your common sense. Just look at it. White guy, black guy named, white guy protected. And that's from a white guy. Because, you see, I know people will have accused me of being a racist because I don't believe in immigration and this, that and the other, but I'm not. I like to look at things. And I have always on my channel told everybody how I see it. Whether you agree with that or not, it's not my bother. It really isn't. But please, you have to see, honestly now, hand on heart, with that information that's come out and how the BBC have been banging on about privacy and all this sort of shit, Noel Clarke was wronged. He was treated disgustingly and outrageously and didn't have a chance because no one wanted to give him the chance because they were too busy patting themselves on the back by removing another black guy from the list. Any case, if you enjoyed this video, the socials are up above as always. You know what to do to like, share and subscribe. If any of you are, going to unsubscribe because of this, well, that's out of my control. But sometimes, people have to speak out when other people haven't got voices. Look at this, listen to what they've said and understand that it doesn't apply to everyone. And before I do finish, remember this isn't just about Noel Clarke. You had Dave Lee Travis. I mean, the way they treated Cliff Richard when the BBC rushed down there with everything they got to film the, breaking in his house being searched, helicopters and drones and everything else, and his name was plastered everywhere. So it's not just Noel, but Noel's the most recent, and people need to start thinking. I know there's going to be a load of you who just have a go. So what? Yeah, I'm only bringing it as I see it. And if you can't see the same as me, then that's your choice. But I think it's about time people started to realise what has been going on and how poorly he has been treated. Well, that's it. I'm done. You know what you need to do. That's right. You go that way to the door and just get out the shed. But as you do, have a think. See you later.